Hi, I'm Gary with Successful Gardens, and today we're going to be planting tulips, both indoors and outdoors. Tulip bulbs need 12 to 14 weeks of cool temperatures, soil temperatures that are 50 degrees and cooler. Now, obviously in the colder regions, that ground is actually going to freeze. And so you want to have your bulbs in the ground early enough that roots can start to develop and grow. Let's get planting tulips. Okay, I dug a hole in the ground in this setting. My spacing here is about a 2 by 2, so 4 square feet of an area. This is a flower bed that I have. I have other bulbs in this flower bed, and I have some roses. So I try to have color year-round in this flower bed. With tulips, you want to plant approximately 5 tulips to every square foot. And so with this bed being a 2 by 2 area, or 4 square feet, comfortably speaking, without overgrowing, I could plant up to about 20 tulips in this little area. I'll probably stick around 15. Now, I have prepared the soil in digging it down deep, and I've got this bulb food that it's a fertilizer. And what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to sprinkle it right on top of the top of the soil. And that's probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons worth of fertilizer. And then I'll just incorporate that in to that potting, or into that dirt. So with this package of bulbs that I have, as I open it up, I can take and look at the health of the bulbs. They still feel firm. But sometimes when bulbs are harvested too early, they don't have the proper time to cure or to dry. And so sometimes you will find bulbs that have mold on them, or they are just rotting in general. But these bulbs all look nice and healthy. In fact, you can see some of the new little bulblets that are on here. Now, this is the nose and this is the root base of the tulips. And so in planting tulips, it's really easy in what you need to do. A rule of thumb is to plant 2 times the depth of what the bulb is. So with this bulb being about an inch in width and in height, I'll plant this bulb approximately 3 inches down into the ground. And so I just want to make sure with the shovel that I have this soil deep enough. And I think I do. Now that the bed is prepared in a larger area, now it's easier to work with a simple hand trowel. There again, planting approximately 3 inches deep, that gives me, I know the depth that I need to plant it with just through this hand trowel. And the soil is loose enough that I can just go ahead and work it in. Now, with this, when planting, you want, especially in the larger areas, not every tulip bulb might set or get planted with the base down. Not to worry, this plant, as it comes out, or the new growth as it comes out of the bulb, will always grow upwards. You don't have to worry about a tulip growing upside down. It just won't happen that way. So I've randomly just kind of dropped these tulip bulbs in this area. Now I can just go ahead and just dig the soil and plant them down in the soil, making sure that there's plenty of space between each bulb. Now you'll notice on these bulbs that there is this tunic or covering to the bulb. It's a protective layer, and yes, in shipping and as the bulbs age, that tunic will slough off. It's not a big deal if it does. However, I would not necessarily force any of them, of that tunic, off of the bulb. It still is a little protective covering for that bulb while it's in the ground. All right, just 3 more to go. Planting in the ground is really easy. All you need is a shovel, maybe even a little hand trowel. If you don't want to do a hand trowel, even if you exposed your area where you're going to plant the tulip bulbs, you place the bulbs down there and then rake in or pile in the dirt on top, and that will be perfect. Now, with this food again, I'll just sprinkle just a nice blend on top of this. Now I'm going to show you another method, this time using an auger. Now in this accent area, I don't necessarily want a picket fence line with tulips. So I'm still going to just add 2 or 3 in an area and then move down a little more, digging a hole here and there. But how simple is that? Even planting tulip bulbs, even if you went down a little deeper than those 3 inches, you still would be fine in doing so. So that's the beauty about having an auger. Okay, so with that, now I'm ready to drop in the tulip bulbs. Another bulb that using an auger is really good for is allium. I love allium bulbs. Allium bulbs are tall purple fireworks, if you will. And so they're one of my favorites to plant. Has a nice spring showing. And with this set, I'm going to plant these in between a couple of my roses. So here we go. We're going to plant some alliums. And I'll just take the alliums and stick them right down into these holes. So then just go ahead and cover those back up, fill in those holes with the dirt. So I'm going to sprinkle these holes with just a little, about a teaspoon of fertilizer on top of each hole. Now we're going to plant tulips and daffodils in pots so that we can have them inside. So first off, we got to have the pots that we're going to plant. This is approximately a 10-inch pot depth. Now, when planting bulbs outside, you know, we talked about planting, making sure the rule of thumb is 2 inches above the bulb for a depth of about 3 inches in the ground. When planting the pots, that's not as critical. What's most critical in planting bulbs in pots is having plenty of root depth. In pots, you can plant the bulbs closer and tighter, so you can actually have bulbs crowded. Options are limitless of what you can plant bulbs in. It's just important that they have space, water, and of course the chilling time for those, and then when you are ready for them, after they've met those requirements, you can pull them out, start warming the bulbs up or the pots up, and your tulips are going to grow. So with that, with these sizes of pots that I have, you want to take a good potting soil. I've taken a commercial potting soil that I got down at my local greenhouse, and I didn't fill the pots up all of the way, but you can see there's still some room. In this pot, this plastic pot, I want to plant daffodils. This is a combination of daffodils. And so as I open up that package, I'm gonna look at those bulbs. Ooh, this is a really soft one. You know, these bulbs right here are nice and firm. In fact, this one is actually, this is called a double nose, or it's starting to actually grow a second bulb on that one, and that's what bulbs do. But this bulb right here is soft. This one has started to rot, and so I'm not even going to plant this. With bulbs in pots, you can plant them to where the nose or the tip of the bulb is just right at soil level. Now when I water this, some of this soil is going to sink. So I want to make sure that I put a topsoil or a top layering on top of this. When planting pots with bulbs or other flowers, they still need to be fed. Some of the commercial fertilizers can react with peat moss, and it can actually cause a burning process. So you want to be very careful about how much that you put in there. Now with this pot, let's see how many I can get in here. I'm thinking probably about 7 to 9. That would be a nice showing. I like to plant in odd numbers. It just aesthetically is more pleasing. And so let's see, I've got 8, 9 bulbs. Let's see if we can make this work. Okay, so there again, I'm just pressing them down into the soil. Okay, with that, do a little top dressing, adding to the top dressing with fertilizer. Okay, that one's done. Now here's a little one. Now this pot's not as decorative. This pot I plan on putting outside on my front step. It's a recycled shrub container that I had bought a shrub and I kept the plastic pot. So I'm going to take the remainder of my bulbs and plant those. This is going to be 3, 6, 9, 12. This will be 12. I have an even number. That's all right. With the number of 12, that will be fine. Now there again, looking, I want to make sure all the bulbs are healthy. I see a little mold on this, but it's just actually on the tunic or the outside covering, so it's still good. So there again, we'll just place these bulbs down in the pot, squishing them down about just to where that nose or that tip is just sticking at soil level. With these pots, now I have to make sure that they have enough moisture. Just make sure that when you do add water, that you add enough water to go through the whole pot. Now, for storage, once they've exceeded at least a minimum of 12 weeks, you can then bring them out and start introducing them to the warm. Once they have started to emerge, the leaves have started to emerge, you want to introduce them to as much light as possible. I'm Gary with Successful Gardens. Thanks for watching today. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to this channel. Until next time, remember, let's get growing.